Here we go. We're live. We's live. Hey, everybody. You know, you guys are allowed to talk, right?
No,
I wasn't set up yet. So now YouTube, this is what I do in the background.
I do nothing. You take notes, you get all your pages up. I just sit here and
Well, it's like hide Pornhub, hide Pornhub, hide Pornhub, open hockey reference, open cat friendly, right?
What about all the recipes?
Well, that's I got those out there too.
All right, let's see here. So I'm going to record this as well for
prosperity.
WordPress and Megaphone. Are you prepared, Matt? Are you ready?
I am prepared. Pornhub is closed.
Pornhub is closed. Is your OnlyFans still open?
Oh, always 99 cents a month, buddy.
Got to pay for that Pornhub subscription somehow.
Oh, Pornhub's free. No.
Hell.
Yeah, gotta get that Brazzers money.
Brazzers is easy.
All right.
Just take any picture and put Brazzers on it. Someone's going to think it's some kind of porn.
That's true.
Well, that must be a clip from a good movie. I got to look for that.
It's like that new Dungeons and Dragons movie.
Actually, that looks
Brazzers on that.
That looks pretty good.
I don't know.
I'm just saying, it looks pretty good. I mean, considering the last, 3 were terrible.
There were 3 others?
Well, there's 2 that went straight to video. There's the one that came out in like the 90s or whatever it was. And then there was 2 that went straight to video.
I was too busy dating girls then.
Just saying.
All right, I'm going to start recording this crap.
All right, sounds good.
And welcome to Habs Unfiltered, episode 327. I'm your host, Blaine Putvin, and I'm joined now by my co-hosts, Treg Wilson.
Hello.
And Matt Smith.
Good evening.
So here we are recording live on YouTube post-game after the Carolina Hurricanes versus Montreal Canadiens. And we're doing so to make sure that Matt is actually available because somehow he finds a way to work all day long, which is impressive considering he's Air Force.
That's very true. Yeah.
Something
Matt, you are
about
by
being
far
the only guy to sign shit, or I don't know.
You are by far the hardest working Air Force guy I've ever met.
Oh, thank you.
By far.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Like, not even close. Like, you worked yesterday more than I've seen anyone ever work. And I think you only went into work for an hour. But the point I'm making is
Only 13.
like by far.
Yeah. 13 yesterday, 13 today. It's all good.
It's like one of those, you know, that meme where the guy, he's popping the champagne, but he's like 15 rows down.
Yeah.
That's the other Air Force guys putting in 10 minutes of work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're way up there.
I put that bolt back on. Woo! Maybe
Call my union.
Maybe aircraft as an airplane workers just work more than helicopter guys. Because we got to admit, Blaine, we're only really around helicopter guys.
That's a good point.
Yeah, helicopter
point.
guys though, they're like, "Why the hell's the plane shake? Why is the chopper shaking so much?" It's like,
They don't care.
no.
Meh.
Until they're in it.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Well, we'll talk a little bit about the game, some random stuff, and be pretty much it for today's episode. So, Carolina pulls off the big come from behind win in a shootout after what was it, 6 shooters? 7?
I don't understand why they just didn't put KK as the first guy in the overtime shootout.
because you know it was coming. You knew it was coming.
They should have just went, okay, we're tied up after the 3-man. Now it's the sudden death over. Hey, just put KK on the ice. You knew he was going to score. You knew it.
There's only so many guarantees in life: death, taxes, a francophone goalie pitching a shutout in Montreal, a rookie scoring his first NHL goal, and somehow a former player fucking over the Habs.
Suzuki scoring in a shootout. Dvorak
Yeah.
Dvorak going to his
5 for 5.
backhand. Dvorak going to his backhand
And missing.
and missing. Yeah.
Drew and getting all the applause to win it and shooting it right into his pads.
Yeah.
I felt bad for him because he couldn't even score in the shootout. After he played a great game too. That's the thing.
I mean, he deserved to
great
go
game.
out there. He had a good game. He scored the other night.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I
I felt bad
didn't feel bad. I didn't care less.
for him. Felt bad for him.
Well,
But honestly, though, that game, despite the fact that that guaranteed win happened for Carolina, the tank crew are happy.
They are.
they're
anti-tank
semi-happy. They're semi-happy. They did get a
because
point.
they got a point. Yeah, but they lost, so they're happy about that.
Correct. And the non-tank crew is happy because they lost, but they played a great game. They were in the game the
Yep.
whole time, and it was exciting. See,
Against
there's
a very, very good hockey team. Carolina's a good team.
Montreal. If you look at the way Carolina plays and the way Montreal plays, Montreal should have lost like 4-1. Really, it should have been like that when we were calling the New Jersey game and they ended up winning. Like they should have lost 4-1 at least.
Yeah,
I'll say props to Jake Allen. He played a fantastic game.
He did that.
unbelievable. What is
And,
it, 40 saves?
and he's been consistently playing well. 923 save in the game with 36 saves.
Yeah. So Montreal's in 6th from the bottom, 4 points out of 5th,
Woo!
which Arizona has.
Yeah.
That's the
Here we are at
updated.
the bottom.
And everyone but Columbus and Arizona have won a game, and Montreal's lost 3 straight.
4 straight.
Well, it
Well,
says 3.
3.5.
Yeah, 3.5. Yeah.
It says 3 here. I'm just going by what I'm reading.
Sure.
Maybe they didn't update this yet. I don't know.
I don't
I'm on
think they
the-
did. As they lost to the
They got
Ducks, they
that
lost to
OT
the
loss.
Kings, lost to the Ducks, lost to the Kings, lost to the Knights, now lost to the Kings.
And in each one of those games, it's all 1-goal losses.
All 1-goal
They were
games.
close.
Yeah.
Very good
So
games.
technically,
Well,
they're
sort
tied
of.
with Vancouver for 6 because they would have one more point then. So they'd be 5 points away from 4th, and they have a game in hand on Vancouver. So technically, they're in 7th. No, they're still in 6th.
Yeah. But you look at their schedule going through the month of March. It is brutal.
It is, but I still think they stay 6th. I don't think they drop into the bottom 5. Just because
I think they dropped to 5.
I think Anaheim, Arizona, Columbus, Chicago, and San Jose are going to be just as bad.
Well, as we
I don't know,
record,
Torrey's got
as we record, Colorado's currently playing San Jose. There's 10:20 left in the second period. It is 5-0 for Colorado, and shots are 27-6.
so there's a chance.
There's a chance, yeah.
I'm just saying, I mean, if they drop in the bottom 5, great. If they don't care.
Well, I think it's more Arizona you got to keep an eye on at this point. I don't think the Canadians are going to slip any further than 5th.
Yeah.
From the bottom.
No.
Right now I'm looking at Florida because I was really hoping that pick would end up turning into a home run. You know what? It still could, but
Again.
it still can. But Florida's winning games. I think they're 6-4 in their last 10. They won again tonight.
For now.
They're
Right
5
now.
and before tonight. I don't know if this updated tonight, but they're 5-5 according to this in their last.
Right.
game.
So
And
they
they
won
have
to-
and they have 1 win, but I don't know.
Right.
I don't know if it's updated that game or not. I just don't know.
I think they're just outside the playoffs looking in. I think it's the 15th pick or something like that right now.
I see.
It should be 12.
They were 12,
Yeah.
and they are now 14. Well,
There you go.
14, but from 12 to 14, 11 to 14 is 68 points. They all of them got 68 points.
So it's very possible that they can get either the 11th or the 15th. Either way, that range is still a very good player.
Still a good spot to get a good player, especially for Ben Sherrod.
They're technically only 3 points from 10th.
Yeah.
It's funny how we're saying 10th and 5th and that we're talking about the bottom, not the top.
Yeah.
10th,
Well,
10th from the bottom.
Yeah.
When you're tanking, you got a different perspective.
They'll still get a good player there. They'll still get a good player. I'm not too concerned.
Nah, me neither.
I got some information on the draft, but I'm going to keep it for later. We'll get into that a little after. What I want to talk about is the game. I want to talk about this Habs Hurricanes game. And I want to start with the defense. So there wasn't a lot of defense per se. It was fairly wide open, but the Canadiens' defensive core were highly engaged in the transition game and into the offense. I mean, Matheson had yet another unbelievable game, and it was just a track meet.
The only thing I didn't like about Masson is when he tried to do a spinorama in overtime and he pretty much just did it right into somebody. Like,
Which one, the first or the 17th?
I just like we did the first one and he kind of got away from him, but then the guy went, "Oh, you're doing a spinorama." He just went like that. And he kind of ran into him. And then the second one, he did it with two guys standing right next to him and he kind of just spun into the two of them. And I just thought, and he had a wide open guy on the other side. Like, I don't know. You should have just passed.
I didn't mind that as much as I disliked the no look drop pass near the end of the overtime.
Yeah. But I
At least
mean,
with the spinorama, he kept the puck.
He did, and he, he used his speed and he used his ability to puck handling, puck moving ability to get into the zone. And I like Matheson. I think he's. I mean, I had someone on Twitter tell me he was the worst player ever, worst defenseman on the team. And then when I put out the stats, he's like, when I put the stats out, I asked him if he read the stats and he goes, "Did you?" So I put them all out. And he's first, second, or third on the Canadian in every offensive category. And then he went, "Well, have you watched him?" Oh, okay. We're doing this now. So
yes, I've watched him.
Yes, he has some defensive liabilities to him, which most offensive defensemen do.
Yeah. Have you watched Tyson Barrie play defense?
It's not that bad.
No.
Have you watched Eric Gustafson? Have you watched Shane Gostisbehere play defense?
But I thought Matson. I like Matson. I think he has a great game. I think he infuses a lot of. I think he's made the power play better. You can see the power play moves more, and it has more control when it's in the zone. They may not be putting it in the net a lot, but it looks good. It doesn't look like a bag of shit like it did at the first of the season. And that's what he's there for. So I mean, if you're going to sit there and say, "Oh, well, he's this defensively," yeah, sure, but he also brings us. PK Subban was the same way. That's why he was always matched up with Josh Georges or Alexei Emelin, because they needed someone more responsible in the defensive zone. And I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that setup, and I'm fine with an offensive defenseman being like that.
Now, you look at his stats. I mean, he played almost 28 minutes in that game, which is impressive. And then you look at the possession stats. Corsi, he got pummeled. He got pummeled on the Corsi. He's under 40% there. Gave up 32 Corsis against, so 32 shot attempts against. 5 of those were high danger chances. So what that's telling me is that they're giving up a ton of shots, but most of them are from the outside. So to me, that shows that he's doing his job.
Agreed, but you also got to think they're playing against one of the best possession teams in the league in Carolina.
Exactly. You have to take that into account. You have to. Now, he was He was by far the leader on the blue line. The next in time on ice is David Savard. You can imagine
which is
how
his
beat
partner.
up his possession numbers are.
Yeah.
I like Savard.
Savard he's an ideal third pairing defender.
I think I
But
like
he's
the
on the
fact.
top pair.
I think I like the fact that he's taking these top pair minutes and he's just going with it.
He
And
is.
he's playing his ass off.
Yep.
He is playing his ass off.
It's
With
really
no
too,
complaints.
it's really too bad that like Gooley came back and got injured as quick as that he did, because he looked great in the couple of games that he played, and it really kind of took the defensive pairs and kind of solidified who was with who. Now all of a sudden, like Barron's injured, Wideman comes back in the lineup, and it just makes a glaring hole. Because it seems that because
Yeah.
he hasn't had a good year, and we know that he hasn't had a good year, and it kind of like it doesn't really matter who they pair him with, it just brings that pairing down. So it's like so low.
You're talking Weidman?
Yeah.
Weidman's the exact opposite of what he was last year.
Yes.
The exact opposite.
Yeah.
It's like almost like he played for a contract, got the contract, and then didn't give a shit anymore.
Yeah. And
He hasn't been played
too
much.
Bad. And it's too bad because he's a waiver guy next year.
He hasn't played much. At least the year before, he was in the lineup steady.
Yeah.
He got into a rhythm.
Yeah.
This season, he's in, he's out. He doesn't know what position he's in.
Yeah.
You know, if he's going to be playing power play or not.
And he was a weapon. Weird. And he was a weapon on the power play.
Yeah, but not this year.
No.
Oh, he's terrible this year. He's like Mike Huffman. He's where pucks go to die.
Well, kinda.
Or what Dadonov was like when he was in Montreal. It's a 3-0-1. They give the puck to Dadonov, and no one knows what happens to the puck.
All of a sudden, he's sitting on the bench. Like,
I'm just saying. I find Mike Huffman's a lot like that. Like, yes, he'll score your goals, like he did tonight, but I find the play dies on his stick a lot.
It does.
Yeah, it really does.
And I find that with Weidman. I find that with Weidman this year. And maybe you're right, Blake. Maybe it's because he's not in a rhythm. He can't, when he only plays once every 6 or 7 games. Mind you, he just came back from an injury too. So give him that. And he is a regular scratch. So
yeah. But you also have other younger players that are playing a lot better than him that deserve the ice time more than him.
And they got it.
And now he's in the lineup out of necessity because you're missing Barron, you're missing Jacka, you're missing Gooley. So
yeah.
Do you know
who's an unfortunate?
Do you know who quietly has gone invisible? Jordan Harris.
Yeah, he kind of had that really good game, and then lately he's just kind of been like,
But I'm not saying that is a bad thing.
That's true. Yeah,
it's a good thing.
Yeah, if you don't hear from a defenseman, usually means they're doing okay.
You just don't hear any. That's what I mean. He quietly kind of went invisible. He's not really making any glaring mistakes, but he's not really making any plays either.
Right.
Well, he made a couple of plays in this game where he was able to break up offensive scoring chances. Yeah. He's, like cross ice, he dive across, knock down pucks. He won a ton of board battles. He outmuscled guys like Svechnikov, who are big monsters, because apparently size is still a factor in the NHL. I know it's shocking to hear, but it's still there.
Size with skill.
So what was your guys' thought on that when he hit Anderson? Anderson gave Gostisbehere a nudge. He fell down like he was shot and was out there on the next power play. And Svechnikov came in and interfered worse than what Anderson did. No, and there's only one call.
Anderson got called for what he deserved that call, even though Gostisbehere dove.
Oh yeah,
it's still an interference. But yeah, I agree. Svechnikov should have gotten one too.
Yeah, should have been coincidental. 100%.
I think that's the issue with officiating. Once they call the one penalty, very rarely do they call an after penalty.
Yeah.
Even with
You want to
diving,
make sure you're punished.
even with diving, right? Even with diving, that I find they're really like it has to be blatantly obvious. Like it has to be a Tim Stutzel type fucking Olympic event for them to call it. So I
The
think
ref
that's
needs to get splashed, is what you're saying.
yeah, I think that's the issue
Yeah.
there. So yes, Anderson deserved an interference call on his hit. Svechnikov did too. However, the call was already made on Anderson. So the referee's not going to sit there and go, well, I already made the call on you and that's it. They deserve the power play, right? Because you're the one that did it first. Another thing I find funny is you can't punch a guy while skating on the ice, but once the whistle blows, you can punch each other in the face all you want. Not a penalty.
Yeah. It's tradition. And if there's anything in this game that we follow, it's tradition.
Yeah. The one thing
I don't want to follow it.
The one thing I will say that was a positive in this game, the fourth line.
Yeah, they played a really strong game.
They played a really strong game.
And Pizzetta
Tierney's
had
pass over to Pezzetta.
Yeah.
that
was a
freaking
great
beautiful.
pass. Yeah.
And Pizzetta saved a goal too when Allen made that huge Bill Ranford sliding over, stack the pads type save. Pizzetta kept the puck from going into the empty net when it came out front. So,
Well, for playing the least of any player, he was one of the most noticeable players on the ice for the right reasons.
Yeah, I thought he had a great game.
Yeah.
Wasn't he like the first or second star or something?
He was first star. Yeah.
Yeah. But
Even Yolonen, I found, played a very strong game.
Oh, that shot he had that went off the post. That was a
Yeah.
beautiful. And this is what I'm saying when it comes to Yolen. He has an excellent shot to him. He's probably, I want to say, second to Caulfield on the team for a hard, accurate shot. The problem is he doesn't have the confidence to use it all the time.
I find that he's sometimes a
He's
step
starting
behind
to.
defensively as well.
Yeah.
He still needs to learn that aspect of the game. He's getting better at it. But that second goal, when everyone went to his side and he should have skated down, he was very late getting to that, and Shea ended up having a wide open net to shoot at. Right?
I think it's the speed of the NHL that he's still getting used
Yeah,
to.
I think so. Yeah,
because it is faster than the AHL. Like
absolutely.
I've seen a couple of AHL games, and you watch an NHL game, two totally different. You don't think it's that much of a difference, but it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you know who else has been quietly playing solid game and no one's really talking about him? Kovacevic.
Yeah. Yeah. Had that
He didn't
had that force to fight the other night.
Yeah, that
which
was bullshit.
Which was bullshit. Yeah.
How dare you throw a clean hit?
Yeah, but you're right. He's jumped up into the offense every now and then, showing a little bit of that offensive flair. And for a big guy, he's got pretty good skating ability, but he's been more solid defensively, other than a couple little mishaps that he's made, but nothing too glaring.
That's more matchups for him
Yeah.
because he's a third pairing type.
Yeah.
And the errors he made were up against the line of Aho's line,
Right.
essentially.
Yeah.
And it's not, Aho's no slouch. Former Montreal Canadian, Sebastian Aho.
Yeah. I think Kovacevic has been the most consistent defenseman on the team all year. Really.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
I can see that.
I love how Greg Button made it well known that this fighting after a good hit got to stop.
Yeah.
Actually, since things happen in real time, I kind of get it. You know what I mean? Like players see a big hit and they're like, you know what? He can't do that to our players. However, this is what the instigating penalty was brought in for.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Stuff like this. So if you lay a big hit on a guy, whether it's dirty or not, or, headshot or not, if the guy comes in to fight you after the hit, it should be an automatic instigating penalty. Automatic.
Well, it's supposed to be.
Well, that's what I'm saying, but they don't do that. It's just, all right, you guys are fighting. It wouldn't have been a fight if he would have just said, okay, that was a big hit. Shit, I hope my guy's okay. You know what I mean? Like, you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
like I don't know,
Uh,
like Romanov. Romanov had to do it all the time. Jack-Eye. Of course, Jack-Eye doesn't do it as much as other people do because people don't really want to fight Jack-Eye. So
Yeah.
when he lays a big hit, it's usually the Cassians or the Simmons on the benches going, I'm going to get you later, because they weren't on the ice because they only play like 3 minutes a game. But
yeah, they stay the hell away from him. That's for sure.
yeah. Jack-Eye.
Now, there was a big historic event in this game. The Canadians won a goalie interference call.
I was going to bring that up earlier. I was like, that was the biggest win of the season. I didn't think it was going to, I honestly didn't think it was going to be called. I thought they were going to say, because when I watched it, I was like, he didn't try to get out of the way. I think it is goalie interference. However, the defenseman was kind of pushing him. The defenseman was there. So that's what they're going to say. And even though it looks like he literally spears Allen with his head.
And he did with the
And he
stick
did.
too.
Yeah.
And they called it. I was shocked.
I thought to myself, they're wearing red jerseys. They're playing in Montreal. There's no way that they're going to call this back.
I wonder.
I was surprised as
Year
well.
one.
I was surprised as well.
I wonder if Martin St. Louis does that. Should we go for this? Because they're not going to call it.
Yeah.
We know we're right.
Yeah.
I
did.
he was making on the bench.
I did like. Was this? Sergio Momesto made the call saying that is the two most fit coaches going against each other tonight. And he's probably right.
Well, they just stopped playing, what, 10 years ago, maybe?
And both of those guys can probably jump on the ice.
They could probably jump on the ice and play
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah.
Montreal has another injured player, and St. Louis getting dressed.
Yeah.
Player coach like
this-
Bo
at
Blake
this-
was.
At this point, he'd be on the top line with Suzuki.
And probably still get
Yeah.
20 points.
Probably, yeah.
Per game.
I
Because
think
He's that good.
I think Montreal should sign Yager. Just bring him back. He's still playing.
He is still playing.
He's playing with Plekanec over there in Czech Republic.
Yep.
Bring him over here. Give him the rest of the season. Play with the Habs. I bet he gets 10 points.
I can see it.
Sure. Now, do you want to go back to the draft? You want to talk about draft?
Sure.
Let's do that.
Throw it in there.
Sure. Why not?
Okay.
It's what's on people's minds right now.
Yeah, and apparently what's on their mind is that the Canadians have messed up the draft
Oh.
a few months in advance.
They picked the wrong guy already.
Yeah.
Bastards.
Do they know who they're picking? No.
Yeah, of course they
And by
do.
they, I mean the fans.
Nick Bobarov already has his guy picked. It doesn't matter where he's going to be at the end of the year. This guy could drop to 32 and they're still going to pick this guy.
The tallest guy in the draft is getting picked.
That's right.
Done.
No
Because it's
matter,
all about size.
that's the only reason why they picked Slav.
Yep.
He who should have been in Laval. Let's forget that they were actually developing his away from the puck skills at the NHL level and not his with the puck skills, which has been documented many times by the coaching staff and Adam Nicholas. But let's ignore all that because he only had 4 goals and like 8 points or 10 points, wherever the hell it was.
Yeah.
I mean, personally, I could care less. If he went to Laval, great. If he stayed in Montreal, I'm okay with that too. Why? Because I don't run the fucking team. And I'm pretty sure they have more knowledge and more experience with this shit than I do.
Probably.
Just saying.
But he was totally picked first overall just because he's big.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Totally.
Yep.
It's the only reason.
Had nothing to do with his attitude, had nothing to do with his what was the statement that he made? I don't care. I may not be the best guy in the draft now, but I just want to prove I don't care where I get picked in the draft, but I want to prove to everyone that I'll be the best pick in the draft.
Yeah.
I like that attitude. And don't get me wrong, I don't mind Shane Wright's attitude either of, I think I deserve to be the number one pick. It's just two different philosophies.
Yeah. And I can understand why they picked Slavkovsky. Size with skill together, not just big dude. Pick big guy.
But here's my question. If they don't get Doc, do they pick Slavkovsky? I say no.
Going into the draft, we made it very clear. We thought they were going with the center. I personally believe that it was going to be either Wright or Cooley.
I literally had a t-shirt that said "Make the right choice."
Yeah.
That Slavkovsky seen me wearing on the street.
Did he point and laugh too?
He point and laughed. I didn't wear it to the draft. I was in a journalist I was actually dressed fairly nice for the draft, but yes, he pointed and laughed. We're going to McLean's, and he was on his way. I think they were coming from McLean's, to be honest with you, but we were going in, and yes,
which was legal because he was 18 at the time, and in Quebec, legal drinking age is 18. Just pointing that out.
I'm not saying it was daytime. They could have had lunch. He might not. He could have had a Pepsi. I don't know. Don't care. But yeah, so that's why I'm asking. Here's the question: like, do you think the Doc trade had a factor? Because they knew 2 weeks before the draft they were in the process of doing this trade. Do you think this made it?
2 days before the draft?
Few days, yes. Do you think this was a factor in them picking Slavkovsky?
No, I don't.
What about you, Matt?
Part of me wants to say yes, because I'm wondering what we're not going to know what their other plan was if they wouldn't have got Doc. But it really seemed that in all of the, especially like all the post draft, all the coverage they talked about Slavkovsky, it really did seem like he was.
We lost Matt.
Frozen. No, so with Doc, I feel that they pulled the trigger on that trade because they went with the winger instead. I don't think that's having Doc in the back pocket was the reason why they went there. I think they followed through with the trade because they got the winger and not one of the centers. Because they're not gonna base their draft choice on a possible trade for a player who may or may not work out for them.
No, I get that philosophy, but here's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking if they knew they were getting Doc, they're like, all right, this trade's done. You know what I mean? Yada yada. We'll announce it at the draft.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna take Slavkovsky. We don't need the center. You understand what I'm saying? Like, because really, let's be honest.
I get the point.
Whether you pick Wright, Cooley, Slavkovsky, whoever, you don't know what you were getting. There was no guarantee you were getting a star player or not star player on any three of those. Even Nemec. Like, is there anyone from that draft that actually is playing in the NHL right now? I mean, Slavkovsky's injured, but Nemec is in the AHL. Wright's in the OHL. Cooley's in the NCAA. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't believe there's anyone in the top 10, I don't think, that's actually playing.
No. Owen Beck is the other one that played a game. So
Bright has what?
So there's only 4 players that have played the NHL this year from that draft. That's Slavkovsky and Beck from the Canadiens. And the other 2 are Shane Wright, who played 8 games, and Jiricek, who played 2.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So no one from there was nobody in this draft. And if you go to other drafts, it's hard to do now because I know if you go to Hockey DB, which I think has the better draft thing, it just shows career games. But if you go to other drafts, at least 1 or 2 of the top 5 make the NHL the next year. but none of them did. And it just goes to show, I mean, I get the point of the anti-tankers. This was the year to actually finish dead last, not last year. But it's just the way things went in Montreal. You know, I don't think Montreal went into the season thinking they were going to finish dead last. I think they went into the season thinking they had a chance to make the playoffs.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
didn't work out
Well,
that-
this year or last year?
last year.
Yeah. Last
This-
year. Yeah.
Yeah. Last year. Now this year, we all said they're a bad team, but they're not a bottom 5 team. And if I think
If
they
they were
would,
healthy.
I think if they would have stayed healthy, I think they'd be pushing maybe even not a bottom 10 team if they stayed healthy. I think they'd be pushing
Yeah.
10 to 15, to be honest with you.
In that range. Yeah. I could see that.
I didn't see that
'Cause they're-
first this season, but with the way the young defense played, the way the goaltending's been playing, and I mean, and I hate that argument. Well, goaltending's stealing us games. Well, that's what goaltenders do. I'm sorry, but goaltenders stop the puck. You know, they're not going to go out there and go, you know what? I really like that Bedard kid. Oops. I mean, maybe Montembeault does that every 2 or 3 games that he has that game where he can't stop anything, but you know, it goes back to last year's Montembeault.
Yeah. Every now and then.
But I just hate that excuse. I hate that excuse, and a lot of anti-tankers, and I don't really want to divide everyone to tankers, non-anti-tankers. I mean, everyone has their reason for why they want. I don't blame them. They want Bedard. They want Fantelli. They want maybe Michkov, who I think is going to drop farther than people think.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. No, I
Yeah.
wouldn't be surprised to see him past 15.
You know what I mean? Like they want these players, and you can't blame them. You can't blame them because they will be, hopefully, the only guarantee person that's going to make a difference is Bedard. Nobody else is going to be a guarantee. High chance. And some people,
by I don't know, guarantee, sure, yeah, because Bedard's probably going to be, he's at that borderline elite generational type.
I think he's going to be an elite player, generational. We'll see.
Borderline.
I don't think he's big enough to be generational, but
If he pulls off the Crosby training regimen where he adds a bunch of weight and gets stronger in the core and the lower legs, you know, all that kind of stuff, sure, I can see it.
he is a franchise changing player. He is a player that's going
Yes.
to, however, once you get past Bedard and you go to Fantelli and everyone else, I think they can be elite, yes, but I wouldn't sit there and say they're guaranteed to be this type of player.
I guess. Well, Bedard's his own tier in this draft. It's obvious.
Yeah.
The next tier is Fantilli, and he's the only one in that tier where I'd say that's a surefire first line center.
I'd say
And then you got
Michkov's a
Carl's-
surefire. I think Michkov's a surefire first line player. The thing with Michkov is his contract with the KHL and whether or not he's actually going to come over from Russia.
I don't know if he's so surefire top line, but top 6, yeah.
I would argue
If-
that, but okay.
If he plays in the NHL. If.
And that's why I think he's going to drop like a stone.
That's why Carlson is going to take that third position, I believe.
Personally,
Really
that is my favorite for the Habs to pick out of that whole thing is Carlson, but they're not going to get him unless they get one of the top 3 picks. So just
Yeah, and if
saying.
they're looking at a top 5, I mean, I like Smith, I like Moore. You're kind of borderlining it there, but this is where I've got some information. I've spoken to some NHL scouts. I've spoken to people around, and the Canadians do seem to like Dvorsky.
But they could get Dvorsky with the Florida pick.
They could, maybe. That doesn't mean they're going to, if they move up to 5, yeah, we're getting this guy just because he's bigger than the others. Keeping in mind that Dvorsky is actually a skilled hockey player, and he is going to be a top 6 player.
The thing with Dvorsky is he does project to be an elite producer. The problem is he changed this game to more of a 200-foot game than a purely offensive game. And I think that's why the Canadians have interest, because if they're going to pick a center, they want one that can play a good 200-foot game. Now, his 200-foot game has taken away a little bit from his offense, and that whole elite producer thing has cooled.
True.
And I think people aren't looking at that. They're looking at, at the first of the year, this guy was in the top 5 talk. But now look at him, and I think it's because, now don't get me wrong, I haven't talked to any scouts about this, but I may have talked to one or two, but I won't name any names. But I think that's, from what I'm told, is he's changed his game from a purely offensive game to a 200-foot game. And he's kind of taken a dip in his offensive. He
has. He
play.
has. And when he's playing against his own age group, he's dominant. You know, in the he played in the junior, the under 20 league for
Allsvenskan. Is it Allsvenskan? Is that in the Swedish league? Allsvenskan. He's with AIK.
Second tier.
He's with AIK.
That's the second tier of the Swedish league.
Yeah, so it's like the AHL of the Swedish league, right?
Yeah.
Just to put into North American terms and how their leagues.
But in the junior level, the under 20,
he was
dominant there.
Yeah.
Then he moves up to the next level, which is the hockey Elvis. I'm sorry, I can't. SHL level 2. He's actually a very good producer there. He's about a half a point per game there. Playing is a third line center as a pro against men. And in the World Juniors, he was the one that carried that team for the most part. I mean, they had a couple of injuries, they were missing a few players. But I think the interesting part is if they do focus on getting him, the Canadians, that is, they're reuniting the most dominant Slovakian line ever assembled in junior hockey.
Messer, Slafkovsky, and I think there's a lot of presumption too, because they went with the 2 Slovakians last year. They're going to look at the Slovakian this year.
It's clear they know him, they like him, but
yeah, it's like you said, he has 14 points, 36 games with hockey Allsvenskan. Patrick Brexel can teach us. We should get him on the show. He can teach us how to say all these things. And but he was very dominant in the junior 20. He had 10 goals in 10 games, 21 points. So you're absolutely right. Like, he's dominant with his own age group, and that's a good thing. That just means as he grows, hopefully he can stay just as dominant or just as good as he grows with people in his age group.
Now, I just got a message from Matt, who is trying to reboot his computer. He wanted to give us his thoughts on the Slafkovsky question that you brought up.
Yeah.
Said, my thoughts on Slafkovsky. Part of me believes he was their guy from day one, based on how they spoke about his ability to step up when it mattered most, like we mentioned a little earlier. The talk trade may have influenced their decision, but I believe they elected to select the player that would be most NHL ready. It's interesting.
That's interesting, because Hugh said he wanted the guy. He wasn't picking the guy that they thought could make the NHL this year, but he kind of was, because he played most of his top hockey was played against ex-NHLers or people well above his age. So, and I don't think he played bad in Montreal. I don't think he did. He was a third line player. He wasn't really putting up the points everyone thought he would put up, but I didn't have any of course I didn't have any expectations on him. I wasn't going to sit here and say he's a 30, 40 point guy in his rookie season. He got 10, I think. It is what it is. See what happens next year.
Now, I want to make it very clear that the Montreal Canadiens last year at around this time were talking about what kind of players they're looking at. And Hughes and Gorton both stated that size is a factor in the NHL. If you want to win a team that can win in the playoffs, they can't all be smaller, skilled guys. You need big guys with skill. Now, I made the mistake of posting that thought on Twitter today. And holy shit, how dare I mention that it should not be a surprise that they focus on size as well as skill. Well, why are they going to not pick my guy? My favorite player's smaller. They should pick him. How could they go for size? I'm sorry, guys. Sorry. But some people seem to think that by me stating that I am not surprised that they're looking at size is somehow denigrating their pick. It's not. If that's how you take it, I am sorry you see it that way, but that is not the way it is. We have to take into account reality. They're the ones that are managing the team. Like you said, Treg, they know better than most of us. They've got all the information at hand. They've got all the scouts there. They got all the stats, all the advanced stats. They know a little bit better. And if size is a factor in their decision-making process, we have to live with that.
Well, right now, they are going to pick probably around 6th or 7th. So if you go to any old draft, I'll go to Sportsnet's February draft. Sorry, hockey writers.
Okay.
It was right there. Will Smith
Get your
is
SEOs, guys.
Will Smith is 5th. Zachary Benson is 6th, and Ryan Leonard is 7th. So, with Braden Yeager and Colby Barlow 8 and 9. So let's throw them in there too. So rumor's been going around that Colby Barlow is the guy they're also looking at in the top 10.
Sure.
I don't think so. He's a winger. Maybe he's a right winger. They have a lot of right wingers. I don't know. Zachary Benson, so Ryan Leonard, Zachary Benson are wingers as well. So, who's this? Who's this coming? I think it's Matt. So if you look at it, it's Matt. Matt. Hi, I'm Matt. Hey, Matt.
Hey, guy.
What's up, guy?
I gotta get rid of Coach Joe's internet. Let's just say that.
They're doing their best to get rid of you anyway.
Apparently.
All right. So I mean, if you're looking at size, all these guys are around 6 feet. Every single one of them. Around.
Yeah.
There. So what's
the only issue is Benson and Cristal are the two guys that most people are looking at right now. They're the flavor of the month.
Yeah.
And while they're about 5'10", 5'11", probably going to be about 6 foot when they get to the NHL, they're very, very slight. They're about 155 to 165 pounds each.
Not as teenagers.
Ooh.
What? Teenagers that are under 180 pounds? That's just ridiculous.
Unreal.
I joined the military at 6'3" and 155 pounds.
Have you ever heard of a sandwich before you joined?
and he's now 5'6", 230.
Yeah. Yeah.
You ever been to sea, Billy?
Yeah.
I'm 27.
Yeah.
Cristal actually on this list is 24. So I don't see them picking Cristal, but that's the name that's been floating around for some reason.
I'd say Cristal's probably he's easily a top 10, 15 guy.
According to Sportsnet, he's 24.
Okay. Whose list is that?
But if they're going to be going, I think Benson.
Sportsnet's February list.
Okay.
Yeah. Benson's probably the more likely pick around there out of those two.
But Sam
He's
Constantino.
by far the better player.
Yeah, I like Constantino.
Yeah.
I like Constantino.
Sam's a nice guy.
Sam, I was talking to him at the World Juniors. He does not think, I won't say this, he'll get a lot of slack on Twitter. A certain defenseman of the Canadians he doesn't think is going to be a regular NHLer.
We already talked about him, Chris Weidman. We said
No.
shit season.
yes, Chris Weidman. Yes, exactly.
We could have
His
told him
decision making size was a factor.
Yeah.
Size was a factor.
When he was
Or
5'7".
he has grown. Yeah.
I,
He has
I
grown.
believe I believe Zach Benson and Will Smith are going to be the two they're going to look for at what do they pick 6 or 7 personally. That's my personal feeling. However, I do see Edward Sale's name coming back into the top 10, and he's been up and down.
Yep.
I don't think he looked good at the World Juniors, but that's just me. But and again, here we are talking, throwing names out there that next week you could have Will Smith as number 3. Carlson could drop to 10. I highly doubt it. But and Michkov, they still got Michkov as 4, and I don't know if he gets picked in the top 10.
Because the playoff performance for these players in their different leagues factors in.
Yeah.
And that's just reality. We can't just be basing it on, hey, look at this highlight reel, or wow, this guy's got a lot of really cool skills that show off in the regular season. We see what regular season players can do and what they can't do in the playoffs. Oh, sorry about that.
The Christ compels you. And you also have to take
okay. I'm only going to have one round of that.
You also got to take into the fact that the NCAA, AA, and the USNTDP are almost done.
Yeah.
Like if your team's out in the NCAA, you're done. I don't know how far the US development program goes. I don't know if they go far.
They go a little bit further because if they're
Do they?
playing with USHL, they'll go in, I think, probably until the end of the month.
Okay.
Now, Matt, because you missed a lot of the show, there's one question I want to bring to you before we end this show.
Sure.
It has to do with the NCAA.
Okay.
What are the odds that the Canadians sign their 2 soon-to-be free agents from the NCAA?
Who, Farrell and
Struble.
Struble?
Yeah.
I'd say Farrell's more of a for sure. The fact that he went to the Olympics, the fact that he's had another very good season with Harvard, I think it's time for him to take that step. And I think
even though he's a smaller player.
Yeah, 100%. I have no issue with him whatsoever. We know that Cole Caulfield's really high on him, so bring in another one of his buddies. I'm all for it.
What does Cole Caulfield know?
This with the Struble situation, I think there's a spot there for him. It's just that his name is it's not out there as much, and people aren't talking about him as much. That could be a good thing or a bad thing. I know when Bergevin picked him and that whole team, that whole draft, they talk so highly of him based on the fact that he was just an absolute monster at the combine. And I wouldn't surprise me if they brought him in. I wouldn't be disappointed, but I would say that I'd be leaning more towards a for sure thing with Farrell. There's no chance that I say that they let him walk.
Well, with Struble, he did help lead his team to the Beanpot Championship.
That's true.
Which
That's
is
true.
Which is a big deal.
Yep.
He is a leader on his team.
And he's a
he has taken
physical,
on a more
defensive shutdown guy.
Yeah. And he's been playing on the right side quite a bit this year.
Yeah. I'd be all for it too. Would not have any issues whatsoever bringing him in.
Obviously, there's room for him right now to fill in, but what about next year?
He's only
does he even have a shot?
I don't think he has a shot making the team and making the NHL team. But I'd be fine sending him to Laval, giving him the opportunity there with the amount of injuries they've had over the last few years, and kind of the revolving door of defensemen that they've brought up from Trois-Rivières up to Laval. I'd have no issue with him getting the opportunity to play for Laval. Not at all.
Farrell, yes. Struble, no. I don't think they're going to sign Struble. And the reason I think they're not going to sign Struble is because they have way too many left-handed defensemen. And unless someone
True.
moves, unless more than one person moves in the offseason, because I do believe Edmondson gets moved come draft. I mean, they have 47 to 50 contracts. That'll change next year, of course.
Yeah.
But as of right now, they have 3 contracts they can sign. Farrell will definitely be one. I'm not against what you're saying there, Matt, but I just don't see them. I think Struble with Lane Hudson coming up, and by the way, Struble's only 2 inches taller than Lane Hudson. Just throwing it out there. He's 6 foot. Lane Hudson's 5'10". Adam Fox is 5'11". I just don't see it. There's just way too many left-handed defensemen. And yes, you're right. He can play on the right, but with Logan Mailloux coming around, which I think he's going to be probably in the AHL next year. And Justin Barron's probably going to be a starter with the Canadians next year. Weidman still get a year in his contract. You still get David Savard there. Plus, you got to find a place for Jack-Eye, Harris, Gooley, Kovacevic. I don't know if he's an RFA or not. Kovacevic is still there next year.
Still got William Trudeau as well. He's played surprisingly well.
Yeah, William True. I don't think he makes the team either, but
No.
he's
Same
still
thing
in the
same thing as Norlander.
Yeah. Oh,
Right?
Norlander's done. I don't think you're going to see
Right.
Norlander ever make the NHL. I was so wrong about that guy. but yeah, you still get Trudeau there. That's about it. But yeah, so no, I don't think there's room. I made this longer than it needs to be, but no, I don't think there's any room for Struble.
I say
No.
Farrell for sure. Make it happen.
Farrell for sure. I wouldn't be surprised they signed Struble. Like, don't get me wrong. I just don't see the point.
I'm hoping they
No,
bring him in. I hope they bring Farrell in for the rest of the year. Once his year is done, bring him in. Let's see what he got.
Yeah, they will.
Yeah.
They will.
Yeah.
There's room for him.
Yeah.
But keeping to the NCAA, I wrote about a couple of players back at the early in January to keep an eye on, and I've been watching them since. And I still think that the Canadians are probably going to be kicking tires at the very least on these guys. And that's a right-handed defenseman out of Minnesota State, and that's Jake Livingstone. He's 6'3", by the way.
The fellow from
Size.
Vancouver.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Jackson Nelson, he's a center with Minnesota. He's 6'4", 220. He played football in high school. Big kid, big net front presence, power play specialist, good on faceoffs, can skate fairly well, especially for a guy's size. Now, these are 2 players that I think they'll probably kick tires on. They might sign one. Livingston, I think, is the more likely of the 2 because he's a right-handed defenseman. And that's the biggest gap in the Canadian system right now.
Now, are these 2 undrafted free agents?
Yeah. So they're completely eligible to be signed and join the NHL immediately after their seasons are done. They can only be signed to 2-year ELCs because of their age. So they'll burn the first year and they'll have their second year. So they can pick and choose where they want, but they're not getting any more than a 2-year ELC from anyone.
If they sign them, do they have to go right to the NHL or can I put them in the AHL?
They don't have to go to the NHL, but normally what happens when you're trying to entice guys like this, you promise them a couple of games.
No, I get that. I'm just saying, like, after that couple of games, can they go to the AHL and help them in their playoff run? Because they're
pretty sure they
hurting
can.
they're hurting for defense.
Oh, yeah.
Like it's been so bad. I think Andrew Zardanowski. He was saying that the Lions, 4 players that were signed to the Lions have had more AHL games than they have ECHL games.
Yeah, I think it's Andrew that said that.
Yeah, that's how, and of course the Lions had a couple guys that just said, I don't want to play anymore.
And Marco brought up the fact that they tried to paper Justin Barron down, but they weren't allowed because of the injury.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Yeah. He got hurt right at the wrong time.
Day of, they were going to paper him down to the AHL. For those who don't know what I'm talking
No.
about, it's
You're not hurt.
yeah. So the Canadians on paper would place these players down in the AHL with Laval and then bring them up later in the day to ensure that they're eligible to play in the AHL playoffs. So now Justin Barron can't, Slavkovsky can't, because they were both injured in the NHL. They can't go down.
Bazile can't go down
Yeah, Belzil can't go down.
because he would
But
have had to go through
Ylonen-
waivers.
Yeah, but Ylonen and RHP can.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
they got papered. Anyhow, that's all I got for today. Matt, got anything else?
My apologies for Kojiko shitting on this show. They're not one of our sponsors, so I could say that. That's about all I
That'll
got
be
to
the name
say.
of that'll be the title of the show. Fuck Pejiko.
No, I got nothing to pass on. It's another good effort tonight by the Canadians. Just they fell short. Four games in a row. 1-goal games. It's a Team Tank's happy, and you gotta like the effort that they're playing with, especially against a skilled team like Carolina. But it is what it is. Not their year. And second part of this show talking about the draft. That's what you got to look forward to. Look forward to Nashville this summer.
No, I'm not, because they're picking the wrong guy. I don't even know who they're picking. It's just going to be wrong. Doesn't matter.
Whoever it is wrong.
I'm hoping there's going to be like a What Lady 2.0 there. So
we're fucked for 10 more years. Sorry, guys.
Actually, the What Lady may actually be there because
she's from
she
Louisiana.
lives in
isn't she?
Louisiana.
Yeah.
Nashville's not that far.
I just want to tell her, they're picking this guy and not this guy, right?
Not again, no.
Should have listened to me. She would have done the what thing. She would have known.
I still can't believe we met her just before that happened. Like, what are the odds?
Literally.
Yeah.
Oh, I want them. Who did she want? Zadina. She wanted.
No, she wanted to Chuck.
Dina.
She wanted to.
No,
Chuck.
she wanted. I'm positive
Okay,
she
She wanted
Zadina.
to Chuck because when we were walking beside Keith to Chuck, we kind of held the door open, and she was saying like "Go Habs, go" and doing her little like thing when Brady was walking by. As it was Brady, Matthew, and Keith that were all walking together.
Because I know they were sitting just a couple rows down from where we were.
Yes.
I thought she was after Zadina. I thought she
No.
wanted Zadina.
No, she wanted.
My
she wanted
memories.
My memory.
Now I'm older. I'm old, but my memory still thinks Zadina. Because she was talking about the kid from Halifax.
Brady. I still think it was Brady.
Yeah, well, maybe.
I drank a little bit less than you that weekend.
I drank a lot of alcohol that weekend. So back in my alcohol drinking days. So you could be right, but I thought it was Zadina. Either way, she did not want Kotkaniemi.
No, she did not. She did not.
No.
And when I told her, I said, they're drafting Kotkaniemi, right? Oh, we're gonna take. I'm gonna say Zadina. You can say Zadina or Kachuk, whoever remembers it correctly.
The vast majority of people wanted Zadina.
That's true.
They did. The
Revisionist
vast
history with
majority.
Tkachuk.
They wanted Zadina. They didn't want Kachuk. They thought Zadina was going to be the better skilled player, and he ends up being kind of right now. He's the worst of the three, but it's going to fill the Ottawa's and Montreal's puck nets with the puck. You got to play in the NHL first, buddy. And then they went with Kotkaniemi, and she was still shocked. I told her. I warned her. I don't know what to say. And she didn't even mention me. Didn't even mention me on that little thing she did on the Sportsnet with Ron McLean. So upset.
Okay.
Do you have anything to add, Blaine?
Yeah, Blaine, do you have anything to add? Thank our sponsors.
Yes,
what you
to all
normally
our
do.
sponsors. No Name Hockey, Boxing Rock Breweries, Manscaped, Seat Giant, all of them. Thank you very much for helping bring the show here, bring the show to you guys. Crier Media, thank you as well for helping to partner with us, and the Hockey Writers, of course, two of our partners. Also, I want to say to any neo-Nazis watching, please stop. We hate you, and you should all just fuck off.
I'm gonna go with the 90s boy band here.
Wow.
You're
Wow.
98 degrees off there. You should go Backstreet Boy. Yeah. So for everyone watching, everyone listening, thank you for interacting with us. Send us more emails. Keep sending them in. I've got some feelers out for a couple of the players that you guys have been asking for to see if they'll actually come on the show. We may get them. Maybe next week. We'll see. So again, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. And remember, if you're talking about it, so are we.